the big changes that takes place in my lifetime is the change from war to peace. And I can hold that intention. I can hold that intention. I picked this particular rendition of this song because it is sung by a gospel singer named Nina Simone. Some of you may not know her, but she became the voice of the civil rights movement. And she began writing music and singing her music after the death of Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King. This is what she could do to make a difference. This is the way she participated in trying to change her world, because she had a big dream. She had a big dream for civil rights and equality. And so this is the way she expressed herself within that movement. Within that movement. She cared about that, you see. It goes back to the reading. She cared about that. And in her lifetime, she saw it. She is now deceased. But she saw that come to pass in her lifetime. And she did what she could do. This is very hopeful, right? This big dream that she was holding. And so the capacity for us to actually be resilient when all of these changes are taking place around us is huge, because it's not always easy for us to step into the invitation to do what we can do. It's a lot easier to stand back and go, not me. Oh no, not me. And this is the piece that I want to make real clear. We got to know what's ours to do, because not everything is ours to do. We have to be able to be wise enough to know what's mine to do, what's somebody else's to do, and what's the universe's or God's or whatever you call that energy. What is God's to do? We got to be clear about this. And once we get clear, then we start taking steps in the direction of what we can do about the things we care about, the things that matter to us, you see. To participate and engage in the world in a way that helps us create a world we'd like to see, that helps us love the life we're living. Do we always love the life we're living? Probably not, especially when changes start taking place around us that we haven't invited and haven't initiated. But part of this resilience that I'm talking about is the willingness to actually look under the rocks of life, whatever that might be, and embrace whatever it is that's under that rock, whatever that experience shows us. Sometimes it's absolutely wonderful. Maybe it's a hidden treasure. Maybe a child hid something wonderful under a rock and we're the one that discovers it. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's something icky and smelly and creepy. But a capacity to actually have the courage to face it, to lift up the rock, to look at it, and then embrace it, no matter what it looks like, is very important in our walk in the world that brings about this incredible resilience to all the stuff that goes. You know, sometimes it feels like it would be easier to collapse under the weight of what goes on in our life experience, whether it's us personally or it's us as a nation or as a planet. Face everything. I love Daniel's song, Bring It On. Bring it on. Face it and embrace it. Just bring it on. You know, I made a commitment, well, it's been like 10, 11 years ago, to 1 year. My practice was face everything, avoid nothing. And I have to tell you, that was the hardest year of my life. And I want to tell you that that's what eventually led to the creation of Common Ground. Face everything, avoid nothing. It was a hard year, and it was sort of taking on this attitude of give it to me straight. I'm ready to embrace this. Give it to me straight. No fluff. You know, don't try to disguise it. Just give it to me straight. I want to embrace the isness of this experience. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to defend it. I'm just going to accept it and be present with it as it is. Do what I can do. Sign up for duty. We're talking all about Memorial Day weekend. Think of all the individuals who signed up for duty without knowing the outcome, without knowing whether they'd ever return, without knowing if they'd return with all their own body parts. Sign up for duty to be used by something larger than ourselves, this dreaming, to put in the action, to find the courage to create something different than what we're working with. We do it in so many ways in our lives. We do it every time a relationship falls apart. We do it every time our finances get a little rocky. We do it every single time we're experiencing a major health challenge. These are all opportunities for us to sign up for duty, to face the isness of the experience, so that we can create what comes next. What comes next? It's a moment-to-moment process, and just like that apple tree, we can't guarantee it's going to grow apples, but we can do the work. We can do the footwork. We can put in the energy. And you know what? It takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to consciously create the life that we would like to see ourselves have, and to embrace all the stuff that keeps showing up without our permission. Got any stuff that's shown up lately without your permission? I think we all do. This idea of being resilient brings us to this sort of position of experiencing life every moment as if it's a big question mark. Like, oh my gosh, now what? Now what? What's going to happen next? What's this going to look like? One more, like Stephen Levine says, one more thing to embrace, one more thing to face. And that's not a bad thing, because it's being with all of this in our life experience that grows us. It's part of our soul's journey. It's the part of us that allows us to embrace our humanity, the parts that might not feel so good, and at the same time bring about the qualities of the divine within that, you see? Our courage, our compassion, to bring forth our patience and our love, our understanding, our wisdom, whatever that looks like, see? And I love this comment. It comes from David Rico's work. Anything can happen to anyone at any time. So we can't just go, well, not my problem, not my deal, not my deal, because every single one of us needs to have the humility to understand anything can happen to any one of us at any time. And that's a biggie. And this is where we really do have to express this willingness to be resilient with whatever comes up. I chose this PowerPoint image of the little paper boats, you know. All we can do is float our boat, float our boat, float our boat. Now it's going to rain on those little boats. They might get a little soggy, they might get stuck along the way, but the idea is we're willing to float the boat and go with the flow. Go with the flow. Allow life to be on life's terms and just meet it in the moment. That's really important. Because I know the times that I've struggled with life, you know, sort of instead of going with the flow like these little boats are doing, and sort of tried to swim upstream. I was reading about what salmon have to go through when they swim upstream to do their spawning. Well, it's a big job. They struggle. When we swim upstream in our experience of life and don't, you know, participate with it and do our part, and we're always bumping up against whatever's going on, you know what, it's just a big deal. Now, most of us aren't going to die like the salmon do, but it's not very comfortable when we're always struggling and going against the flow of life as it is. It's not easy. It's not easy. And then at the same time, Adyashanti has a wonderful teaching about, at the same time, while we're going with the flow, we don't just flop around like a dead fish behind the boat. See? We participate. We're engaged. We stay afloat. We ride the waves. We're not just this dead thing sort of bobbing along behind. We're engaged with the world. We're engaged with the experience. We're doing our part, doing what we can. You know, the idea of what do they call it, fluxum, the stuff that all the wreckage that we're seeing coming into our shores from the tsunami in Japan, the fluxum, all the stuff. Well, the invitation is don't be that. Don't be the wreckage, but find the capacity to put yourself back together so that you can gather the scattered pieces of yourself, whatever that might look like, and move forward. Move forward. Create a new being. Create a new being. I saw a movie from Spiritual Cinema a couple of years ago, and I loved it. It was all called Flip Flop Flotsam. And it was all about the life of a flip-flop that floats around in the ocean, and then what happens to it when it finally reaches the shore and is transformed into something new. This is the invitation. Accept the reality of the experience. Don't have an attachment to the outcome. If it doesn't grow apples, oh well. Something needs to change. Accept the good with the bad. Accept the easy and the difficult at the same time. Bring forth courage within the fear. I got an email from my husband after he read our email for the week, and he said, that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to, have courage within the fear. Sometimes things go on, in employment and finances and whatever, and that's what it's called for. Courage within fear. That's just the way it is. Goodness, give me the next slide. This is not me, by the way. That would be a whole nother talk, because I'm deathly afraid of water. I don't swim, so you'd never see me standing on that high dive. But the point is, and I love the point that one of the authors, I wish I remembered which one, made. You see, when we're in this process of participating in our life experience, facing everything, embracing it, whatever it is, face it and embrace it, we have to intuitively trust that when we dive off that diving board, we're not going to dive into an empty pool. See? That when we dive, when we take the leap of faith, there's going to be something there to support us. And of course, for me, it's this basic trust in the universe that's going to move us through our life experience and keep us whole. Not always going to look the way I want it to look, because I don't get to decide that part. I don't get to decide how many apples grow. But I do know that at some point, I am going to be supported. There is going to be water in that pool when I take that leap. And right now, what we're working with as far as common ground goes is a perfect opportunity for us to walk our talk in this area. When we chose this talk topic, you know what we thought? Our pruning and our picking the bugs off and everything. We thought today we'd be celebrating this wonderful move and that we'd be all packed up, ready to go. See? We thought that's what our human minds told us. Holy joke. Holy joke. The irony of this is that one of the great paradoxes of life, you don't get to decide the outcome. You do the work, you put the effort in, you make the next, take the next step, you're willing, but you know what? Sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you think it will. It changes along the way. And when it does, it sort of feels like a rite of passage. I have to tell you, we've had some moments this past week that feel like a rite of passage, sort of a milestone. It's a turning point. How do we work with this? What do we do? Think about the places in your own life where you've had, to experience this divorce, or you're experiencing a health challenge, maybe you've lost your home, whatever. Think about the times in your life when you're at that rite of passage of, everything's going to be different from this point forward. You know that about it. And you can either rise to the occasion or not. You can either do what is yours to do or not. And this is what encourages the hero in us. This is what encourages us to be our very best self, our very best human self, and remember who we really are, you see? And then take whatever that is and use it to make a difference not only in our own life experience, but in the lives of others. So how do we meet these uninvited changes? I love the invitation in this little book, the one, what's it called? Just One Thing. This is what he says. Number one, you got to trust the universe. You got to know there's water in the pool. Number two, you got to get busy. You got to get busy. You don't flop around like the dead fish behind the boat. Number three, anybody watch Project Runway? make it work. You make it work. And now I don't mean force it to work. I mean you take whatever is good within the experience and you expand on that. You take the isness of the experience, you expand it, and you make it work. You make that beautiful, whatever that is. That's where we are right now. You look deep, you look wide, you look beneath the surface of things, you look at the bigger picture, and find the hidden dimension of whatever that experience is showing you. You don't stay on the surface of the problem. And this is the big deal. Number 4, you remember the truth of who you are. You light that spark within you that reminds you of what your dreams are, what's important to you, what you care about. You light that spark, you remember. It is that spark that fuels the energy for you to do what you came to do, for you to take the next step, for you to get busy. It's remembering the truth of who you are that ignites your passion and gives you that life energy to be present with this stuff, to move you from being stuck to being excited with whatever the next unfoldment will be. And this is where we build our character. This is where we have an opportunity to actually express all the things that we think about and talk about. Our compassion, our acceptance, our love, our wisdom. We participate in our own evolution in this way. It's how we develop spiritually, emotionally, and in every way. Here's your invitation. Remember the lyrics of this song. Everything changes. Not much in life is real sure, and that's just a fact. So you might as well engage with your life experience. You might as well get busy. Participate. Do your part. Take the next step. Be part of the change you want to see in the world. Face everything and avoid nothing, even if it looks kind of creepy and icky. Have an attitude of give it to me straight. Give it to me straight. Don't gloss this over, just give it to me straight. I want to face this head on and deal with the truth of it. And this is where my humility comes in. Face it, embrace it, bring it on, as Daniel would say. Thank you for listening.